April 1453. Just 2 years after becoming Sultan and just 9 months after completing the Rumeli fortress, Mehmet II was ready to attack Constantinople.
But the Byzantines had tremendous confidence. They believed their giant moat and 2 lines of walls were invincible in defense of Constantinople.
Mehmet's troops moved their siege towers and catapults into position and anxiously waited for the order to attack. On April 7th, Mehmet launched the first wave of his assault against the land walls of the city. As ground forces continued their attack, 150 ships of the Ottoman Navy approached the city and readied their guns. Constantinople is on a peninsula, and Mehmet's spies had learned that the seaward walls facing the Golden Horn were not as thick as the land walls. But when Mehmet's navy tried to attack, the Byzantines were ready.
Before the Ottomans arrived, though, the Byzantines stretched a chain along the Golden Horn in order to deny access to the Ottoman navy.
Then Mehmet devised a remarkable plan. If he couldn't break through the blockade, he'd go around it. He would take 80 ships overland over a ridge 200 feet high and down again to the water on the other side.
It is quite extraordinary when you think about ships weighing many tons, several tons at least, being dragged on rollers up a very steep hillside for several miles and then being pulled down those rollers several more miles.
As soon as these ships made it into the Golden Horn, they started to fire on the walls.
At the same time, teams of oxen and hundreds of men dragged Urban's monster cannon into position to assault the land walls.
The giant cannon could only be fired 3 times a day. It would get so hot after firing that the Ottomans had to use olive oil to cool it down to prevent it from cracking during firing.
On May 29, 1453, after 7 weeks of intense siege, Mehmet gave the order for what would become the final assault. First, a wave of irregulars weakened the Christian front line. Next, a second wave of regimental troops intensified the battery. Finally, a force of 5,000 Janissaries held back until the decisive moment moved in. The wall was breached. As the Janissaries rampaged through the streets of Constantinople, the surviving Byzantine troops panicked and fled. For 1,000 years, the city had been a symbol of Christian dominance. Now, the city of Constantinople was in Ottoman and Muslim hands. With this monumental victory, Sultan Mehmet had changed the course of world history and forever would be known as Mehmet the Conqueror. It was the beginning of the golden age of the Ottoman Empire.